So the Baltimore Ravens did what they were supposed to do to the Cincinnati Bengals, really blew them out, really dominating win. And what I found very interesting was how they really did not rely on the running game whatsoever. Lamar Jackson only had one rush for -4 yards in the first half of this game. So this was a lot of just them throwing the ball. And they really had a lot of success doing it. I mean, Lamar did have, a lot of scrambling, so, his running ability did still come into play. He notably ran over a ref, but, he did a lot of things really well, I thought, through the passing game. But I want to talk about the running game first, because even though he wasn't really running the ball that much, what he was doing was he was hitting the ball off and sort of faking as though he's going to run, which still helps to some degree. And actually, if you look at the numbers, he has been running the ball less. There have been a lot less designed runs this year than there have been in past years. I think that's intentional. I think especially against a team like Cincinnati, they're intentionally trying to run the ball less, just get him, less banged up for later in the season. But like on this play, what I'm trying to show is that it's going to be Lamar Jackson is going to hand the ball off to the bottom of the screen, but then he's going to run up to the top of the screen. Andrews, who's currently lined up as a fullback, is going to run up and he's going to lead block. And the reason why I have a Cincinnati player circled is because really he's the kind of guy who on a play like this, he could come into play. Now, in the past, you had seen the edge guy who's unblocked at the line get completely out of position. You've seen them get 5 yards out of position with this Lamar Jackson offense, which is how the running backs have been able to run for so many yards in previous years, even when they weren't very good just as a traditional back. It's opening things up. It's getting rid of, you don't have to use as many blockers to make the play when you have a guy like Lamar Jackson. It's a huge advantage. You're going to see them move a little bit this time. He actually moves a little bit in, but he doesn't fully crash in the way maybe you'd want to completely give up the containment. I've also circled another Cincinnati player. He's still looking over at Lamar Jackson. This isn't as dramatic as we've seen in previous years, which is kind of why I feel like their yards are a bit more difficult to come by than they were last year. I mean, last year it just seemed like they could, walk forward for 7 yards every play with the way things were blocked because of Lamar Jackson's acceleration. The fact that they're not running the ball with design runs as much, it changes things, of course. But at the same time, I do think that it is worth mentioning, it's still working to some degree. And as you see, he is able to run and pick up a few yards. I mean, that was actually pretty well defended by the other guys in the play. But, there is a small thing that is working about it. I think it could be working better. That's just my opinion. I think there are better things you could be doing about this. Personally, the reason why I predicted the Ravens to win the Super Bowl was because of the running ability, and part of me wonders if they are going to start doing more design runs later in the season and get ready for the postseason, but they just don't want to get Lamar Jackson hurt now, and they want to improve his throwing ability a bit now as well, in case they have to later in the season. It's possible, but I think that, I do think that's really good. But there definitely are moments when it's working. Like this one's another one. It's going to, again, be a handoff. But Lamar Jackson, not only is he going to go up to the top of the screen, but multiple offensive linemen are going up to the top of the screen as well. So they are all really trying to sell that this is going to be a run with Lamar Jackson. And that's one of the things that I like that Baltimore is willing to do. A lot of these other teams, they don't really fully sell these fakes. They might have a quarterback fake a handoff and start running, but the offensive line is going to just block what they're supposed to do on most of these teams. Baltimore doesn't do that. Baltimore, they will hide things with their offensive line, which they didn't do a lot last year. This is something they're doing a lot more this year. They also have a couple wide receivers who are going to come out and block a couple of Cincinnati players. So that part's pretty simple. And then you give it to Dobbins, who runs in that direction. And so as you see, right when this starts, again, a Cincinnati player on the edge, he moves a little bit in. This is a very small amount in. He's not getting totally fooled, but that little bit can mean so much because watch how now Dobbins is going to be able to get the edge, and not just that, but he breaks a tackle as well. So, I feel like in previous years, that edge rusher gets completely farther in, and Dobbins doesn't have to break that tackle. But even in this year, they're easily converting a 2nd down and 1 because of Lamar Jackson's running ability, even when he's not running the football. So there is still that added benefit. On top of that, I wanted to pause it right here because this is just a fantastic broken tackle where, look at that. I mean, can you believe at this moment that this is going to end up as a broken tackle? This just seems too easy. All you have to do is, touch him with a feather and Dobbins is going to run out of bounds. But despite that, Dobbins somehow still has the balance to break that tackle and pick up a few more yards. Just incredible. Great play play by him, but also a great play design. And, it is set up by the great running ability of Lamar Jackson. One other thing I wanted to mention was that they're throwing the ball well. Lamar Jackson isn't running the ball, and they're throwing the ball well. And that's a big deal for me. The fact that they're able to still have so much success just throwing the football, I think it's very promising because they're not playing their best game. It's almost like it's a team that's designed for a certain scheme and then is choosing to play a different scheme and still blowing teams out with that new scheme. That's kind of what Baltimore is doing. Take a look at this one. It's going to be cover 2 zone that they're going up against. There are 2 receivers on the bottom of the screen. This is a good concept. I like this concept a lot. It's against zone coverage. This can work well against man, but because of the concept, it's going to work well against zone as well, where you have a receiver who's running over the middle. And it looks like your receiver at the edge is also going to run. And the reason why this would make sense if both of these guys sort of ran over the middle is that the receiver closest to the sideline, he'd kind of run into the zone where the other receiver, the receiver further away from the sideline, is getting through. So basically, a linebacker would cover the receiver, the second receiver to the top of the screen. Then, therefore, the other receiver would be open. But he's actually not doing that. What then the receiver on the sideline is going to do is fake as though he's going to the middle, then get to the outside. And the reason why this is so important is because the Cincinnati player who's in charge of covering the zone on the bottom of the screen, he's going to assume that he's running up. He's going to try to make sure he takes away that area because he thinks that there's now going to be a gap there, but then it could get open. Like, watch, right when this starts, you notice how far he's able to get open, how far 38 bit on that. And the reason he bit on it was because it makes sense. It's a concept teams use a good amount, but they're kind of using that concept in a backwards way to get even more open. Hollywood Brown, he's able to cut open. He's able to make the catch, get the first down. Just a good play design by Baltimore. And also, quite frankly, if you're playing man coverage against them, I mean, on one hand, there is the threat that Lamar Jackson could just run the football. He, again, didn't do it a lot today, but as a whole, that's something that he can do. But on the flip side, you have Mark Andrews, who's just a beast. And watch what's going to happen here. It's 3rd down and 7. They're playing man coverage. It's a cover 1 robber concept, so there's 2 safeties deep, but one of them's going to move over to the middle of the field, so there will only be 1 safety deep once the ball is snapped. Andrews is running just a quick route over the middle. So 3rd and 7, typically you kind of want to get the ball a little bit further down the field. You want to throw it past the first down marker, but you don't have to with Andrews. First, watch what Andrews is going to do. He's going to use his contact, and he's going to use his size to get off that defensive back. So right off the bat, there's a ton of separation, where now the defensive back who is covering him will not be able to make a play on this one. Andrews is going to get the first down unless the safety who is deep crashes in quick enough, but he's too far away right here, and there's such an opening that Jackson is able to, he still makes an accurate throw, and then there's a little fun flip right there, but, that's just an incredible play, and that's kind of what I feel like this Baltimore team can do. Even when they're not running the football, they're not a terrible team. Okay, that was quite the understatement. They're a really good team, even when they're not running the football. They're really good at pretty much everything. And so, there's a reason why I said this team is going to win the Super Bowl. I would like to see them start running the ball more with Lamar Jackson. That's just my opinion. I think that he's so good at running the football. I think that that's what makes this team go from a championship contender to one of the best teams I've ever seen. I would like to see them get back to that a little bit. But again, I'm holding out hope that they're just waiting till later in the season to do so and just trying to not get as much mileage on Lamar. That's the hope. Could be wrong. We'll see. But that's my thoughts on this Baltimore Ravens. Pretty dominating win. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from you. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.